Hey guys, welcome back, and for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Shelagh at Virtually Nutritious. Today we are filming from beautiful Barbados, and I'm really excited to get this video to you. I'm starting a new segment called True or False Tuesdays. These will be about 2 of these a month, as long as people can continue to bring me myths or true or false questions or statements that you guys want either supported or refuted. So today's true or false topic is carbohydrates are making me fat. So let's talk about carbohydrates, what they are, what they do, and if they really are making you fat. So let's start by talking about carbohydrates. Carbs are found in really healthful foods like whole grains, fruits, starchy vegetables, dairy products. The list goes on and on. But carbohydrates are also found in sugar because that's what sugar is. So cookies, cakes, brownies, sweets, things like that are also carbohydrate-containing foods. When people refer to carbs making them fat, I feel like they're typically referring to bread, pasta, rice, cereal, things of that nature. So they go on completely no carb or low carb foods, which is actually pretty dangerous. As you can see from the list of foods I've rambled off already, there are some very healthful foods that have carbohydrates, and unfortunately some not so healthful foods that contain a lot of carbohydrates. So now that you know what foods carbohydrates are actually in, what do they do? Carbohydrates are actually imperative for our health. They're our brain's primary source of fuel. Carbohydrates are broken down in the body and used as glucose, which is just another name for sugar, like blood sugar, blood glucose. And so carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, floating around in the bloodstream. They fuel the brain. Our brain really does not enjoy functioning on proteins or fats for fuel. So if your brain isn't properly nourished with enough blood glucose, then you're not going to be able to think properly. You're going to be lethargic, you're going to be tired, and your thoughts aren't going to be as clear as they should be. So glucose is really important for our thought process. Glucose also fuels our muscles. Your muscles need glucose to function, which is also hugely important, especially if you are on a health journey, because you are likely exercising as well. Having enough carbohydrates in the form of glucose floating around in your bloodstream is also super important in maintaining the appropriate pH level for your blood. If your pH is out of whack, all sorts of things can go wrong. Your breathing pattern changes, your heart rate can change, you get really thirsty, you have to go to the bathroom a lot, and ultimately can lead to something as serious as a coma or even death. So it is really important to have enough glucose floating around in your bloodstream. So that means it's just as important to have enough carbohydrates coming into your body in your diet. But what is important is the sources of carbohydrates you are getting. Of course, things like cookies and cakes and brownies and things like that are pretty appealing. They do have carbohydrates, the same carbohydrates that might be in pasta, cereal, rice, quinoa, things of that nature. But they're providing a lot more. They're way more carbohydrate dense because they are so sweet. So you want to get carbohydrates from more sources like your pasta, if it's whole grain pasta, brown rice, whole wheat bread, fruits, vegetables, low-fat dairy products. Those are wonderful sources of carbohydrates. So it's kind of the source of carbohydrates can make a big difference in the total calories you're consuming in a day, and therefore the weight or the size of your waistline. So carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram, just like protein. It's protein and carbohydrates, 4 calories per gram. Next on the list is alcohol, which is 7 calories per gram, and then it's fat, which is 9 calories per gram. So why are we blaming one of the 2 lowest calorie-dense macronutrients for us gaining weight? Fat is so much more calorie-dense. Of course, there are healthy fats and non-healthy fats, but we'll save that for a different day. That's a completely different topic. So maybe it's just our portion sizes that are wrong. On your dinner plate, your lunch plate, and your breakfast, only a quarter of the plate should be dedicated to carbohydrate foods. So whether that's bread, pasta, cereal, rice, starchy vegetables like potatoes, squash, peas, corn, things like that, only a quarter of your plate should be dedicated to that. I recommend about a cup of these starchy foods or 2 slices of bread at every meal. Think back to the last time you had a pasta dish for dinner. Did it take up your whole plate? Probably fairly close. And what did you put on your pasta? Probably some cheese. Maybe it was a chicken parm dish, so you had fried chicken on there. So you're adding fat, you're adding more fat, and then you're adding other things. And your portion size was off to begin with. And did you have it with a side of garlic bread that had some butter and cheese on it? Probably. So maybe it's not the carbohydrates that are making us fat. Perhaps big portion sizes are making us fat. So what's the verdict? Carbohydrates are making me fat. True or false? That statement is false. I'm attributing weight gain to large portion sizes, maybe lack of self-control, and the sources of carbohydrates that we're choosing. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give it a like and hit subscribe if you haven't already to get notified when I post a new video. I post every Tuesday and sometimes every weekend or so, depending on the content I have prepared for you guys. Thank you so much for watching.